All right, folks, if you're just tuning in the radio, we are getting back on the air here from our break. It's called the Business to Business Network Show. If you just turned on your radio or got in your car, cranked it up, and all of a sudden we come blasting at you, what we are is a high-speed business networking show that we do every week, giving out the names and phone numbers of real estate agents. But you can't do real estate without great financing. Our co-host is
Jeff Obrasky, Homeowners Financial Group. We're Arizona's award-winning mortgage bank, and if you listen to the previous episodes, we're here to give away money.
Yeah, everybody say free money.
Free money.
And our next guest is Tim. Introduce yourself, please.
My name is Tim Liechti with United Brokers Group.
And kind of give us your story and your background. You came from management in restaurants.
Management and ownership, actually. Went to culinary school a long time ago, so I learned a lot about service when it came to
Are you like a
clients.
super chef? No, the master chef.
Kind of looks like
Only on weekends.
Sarah Mordo, the Iron Chef.
The Iron Chef. That's what I was looking for. Go ahead.
Exactly. Well, through the economy changing and everything, I kind of got into real estate and first got out here, started holding open houses. That's a really tough process when you're breaking into the business to hold open houses. Kind of was not really getting very, very far, very fast. So decided to join the team, worked with buyers exclusively through the depressed market, lots of short sales, lots of foreclosures. Built my sphere of influence and clients, and now it's starting to kind of turn into more listings and other referrals.
We
so it's
like
been really
buyers.
great.
Yeah,
Exactly.
we work with buyers.
I'm a lender.
Exactly.
And what's interesting, you had a kind of an interesting story from the Cave Creek area. Tell us about that
From the
one.
Cave Creek area, and this is kind of a lesson of pricing your property correctly in this current market. As you may hear in the market or on the news that we are back to a buyer's market. I had a listing that came on about the first week of February. This was about a 3,500 square foot home on an acre, so kind of a horse area of Cave Creek. Fantastic custom pool, very territorial, type of a home. We put it on the market about $699. We knew we were reaching just a little bit, kind of against my advisement, but we wanted to see what would happen. Within 2 days, got an offer on it, about $10,000 less. We were like, perfect, let's get this thing done. Appraisal came in a lot lower. Spooked our buyer.
Wow.
Buyer decided to leave. We dropped our price, and then we dropped our price again. And here we are in June. Just got it under contract for right about the 600 mark.
Wow.
We dropped about, from our last contract, about $90,000 to get it done.
And, that's the key is you got to understand that if you overprice things, it takes a little bit longer. Jeff, you've got an experience in kind of a chart with that.
I do. I was shown this chart a couple of years ago by Michael Orr, who everyone in the real estate market knows, are big statisticians in the market. But remember, we were all in high school, and they had the thing I think was called the bell curve. So imagine you cut the bell curve in half, and we're just going to look at the right-hand side. The vertical axis is percentage of list price, okay? And then the lower horizontal axis is the number of days on market. All right. So up above, basically up very close to 100%, going straight across almost for the first 30 to 45 days. Okay. However, once you hit somewhere between four, and then it starts to curve down a little bit. And when you hit somewhere in that 60-day range, there's a precipitous drop. Mm-hmm. So the bottom line is that the homes that sell in the first several weeks on the market get significantly higher percentage of their listing price. Mm-hmm. Okay? So you have two ways of looking at this. Number one, do you really want to sell? Is your price the right price? And do you want to do it quickly? All right? And the people who do that, I still have buyers that aren't getting homes because of multiple offers.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, there are other homes that if you list it 20% too high, it'll sit.
Yeah.
Okay? And then it has that precipitous drop. And then 4 months later, the people bring the price down, and they get that same price maybe that they could have gotten today, but they just went through 3.5 months of agony.
Yeah.
50 showings, people tramping through the house. So
and mortgage payments.
Yes. So it's a real misnomer.
Yeah.
Okay. If you think you need to leave wiggle room in your negotiation, the fact of the matter is, except in some very unusual circumstances, the faster they sell, the less quote-unquote wiggle room there is.
And that's what you try to instruct and work with the sellers now on that, Tim.
Correct.
And that's the key is in that you're able to come to the table and show them what the comparable sales are and what the marketing will work and what's going to sell and how it's going to. How do you do that?
Well, we'll basically look at all the comps showing in the area. Hey, this is what you're going to get with this other property, that other property. It's a pretty simple process, taking valuations of other properties and making adjustments for what your property has versus the other.
And when it comes to appraisal,
A lot of people don't understand the appraisal process. And that's exactly how appraisers do it. It's called a comparable market analysis. They pick a handful of homes that have sold as close to the subject property, as similar to the subject property as possible. And then they make adjustments for things like square footage, pools, conditioning, etc.
full acre versus half acre.
Correct. Custom build versus
Well,
tract
no.
homes.
No.
Okay, but that's the whole point. Is
Okay.
you're not going to comp a custom versus a tract.
Oh,
You
gotcha.
can't do that.
You got to get apples to
Okay,
apples.
it has to be an apple to an apple. And the number one factor and the biggest mistake that I see from a lender's perspective, because I see both people's interpretation, is they'll look and say, well, the house next door sold for $200 a square foot. My house is 200 square feet bigger, so I should get $40,000 more. They don't adjust
That way.
They're adjusting $30 to $50 a square foot.
Interesting.
Because the land costs whatever the land costs.
Yeah.
The infrastructure to bring the utilities in costs whatever that costs. It doesn't matter whether your house is 2,000 square feet or 4,000 square feet. So it's a really good agents educate their sellers and explain how that adjustment process is done. And then they get if you do that, I think you get a much more accurate idea of what your home is worth.
Yeah. Well, if you want to work with one of the top agents in the Northeast Valley, let's get a phone number, Tim. How can people reach you?
Number is 480-371-5100. And also my website is scottsdalerealestateadvisors.com.
And phone number one more time.
480-371-5100.
This is the guy who knows how to get it done. We checked the numbers.
And
He does really good.
Does very well. You need to have an agent you trust.
Yeah.
Okay, you need to decide whether, if you're selling, do you want to sell and do you want to sell today?
Yeah. Get it done. And for financing.
It's Jeff Obrasky, 602-445-9094.
And everybody has to understand you got to get pre-approved by the lender before
bring your bank statement.
before the Tim's going to put you in the car. Everybody stay tuned. We got to do a break here. 123bz.com.